How are you guys doing? Today is Thursday, December 24th, 2020, out here in this quarantine. Merry Christmas Eve. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to get into yesterday's elite performances and elite players as we cover the first night of basketball for a lot of the teams that didn't play in the first night. And because of quarantine, of course, a lot of these teams are going to play 2 games home series just to limit traveling. So this is going to be the first game in a bit for a historic season for the rest of the teams that didn't get their start yesterday, as one game got postponed. It was the Houston Rockets and the OKC Thunder in Houston. But in addition to that, all the other games were able to play. And starting with last night's last night's primetime matchups. Starting in Boston, the Boston Celtics were able to get their first win of the season over the Milwaukee Bucks, 122-121 in quite possibly one of the biggest games of the season already to start the night. Just a possible Eastern Conference Finals preview. And in this matchup for the Milwaukee Bucks, out of their starters, Dante DiVincenzo would finish with 15 points as he shot 6 for 11 from the field. Drew Holiday would finish with 25 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and a couple steals as he shot 10 for 16 from the field. Chris Middleton, their small forward, would finish with 27 points, 14 rebounds, and 8 assists as he shot 10 for 20 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3, and made all 4 of his free throws. And the reigning 2020 NBA MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo would finish with 35 points, 13 rebounds, and a couple of assists, along with 2 blocks, as he shot 13 for 26 from the field, making 3 of his 8 3-point attempts and shooting 6 for 8 from the free throw line. But for them, the Boston Celtics would end up getting a big shot at the very end, especially from Jason Tatum, which would put them over the top. Even though Milwaukee almost came back and was able to get the win, the Celtics were able to keep the Bucks at arm's length. For the Boston Celtics, off the bench, their point guard Jeff Teague would finish with 19 points and 4 assists as he shot 7 for 15 from the field. Out of their starters, Daniel Tice would finish with 10 points and 3 rebounds and 3 assists as he played 25 minutes in the game. Tristan Thompson, their other center, finished with 12 points and 8 rebounds in 22 minutes. Out of their starters, their elite power forward, Jason Tatum, would finish with 30 points, 7 rebounds, a couple of assists, and a couple of steals as he shot 12 for 28 from the field, 6 for 13 from 3. And their leading scorer was Jaylen Brown, who finished with 33 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists as he shot 13 for 24 from the field in 38 minutes. Like I said, with this win, Boston is now 1-0 as Milwaukee now drops to 0-1. That was the first primetime game of the night. The other primetime game took place in Phoenix as the Phoenix Suns took on the Dallas Mavericks. The Phoenix Suns, this is the first time this roster's been put together, so of course with the addition of elite point guard Chris Paul, and of course they didn't disappoint. As this game was pretty close for most of the game, it was a little bit of a back and forth affair, and the Phoenix Suns were able to get the most of it at the very end. For the Dallas Mavericks, their power forward off the bench, Maxi Kleber, would finish with 10 points off the bench. Jalen Brunson would finish with 12 points in 18 minutes. Out of their starters, Dorian Finney-Smith, their small forward, would finish with 11 points in 36 minutes along with 8 rebounds. Their shooting guard, Tim Hardaway Jr., would finish with 12 points and 4 rebounds. Their shooting guard, Josh Richardson, would finish with 12 points in 7 rebounds in 36 minutes. And, of course, their elite point guard, Luka Doncic, would finish with 32 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists in 36 minutes as he shot 11 for 26 from the field, 0 for 6 from 3, and 10 for 12 from the free throw line. For the Phoenix Suns, starting with the bench players, Langston Galloway, their shooting guard, Cameron Artis-Payne, their point guard, both of them finished with 11 points each off the bench. Cam Johnson out of Notre Dame, their small forward, would finish with 15 points and 5 rebounds in 26 minutes off the bench. Out of their starters, their elite point guard, Chris Paul, would finish with 8 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists in his Phoenix Suns debut as he shot 3 for 9 from the field in 28 minutes. Their center, DeAndre Ayton, former number 1 overall pick, by the way, would finish with 13 points and 8 rebounds. Their small forward, Miles Bridges, would finish with 18 points and Michael Bridges would finish with 18 points and 7 rebounds in 36 minutes. And their leading scorer was their elite shooting guard, Devin Booker, who finished with 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists in 34 minutes as he shot 8 for 15 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3, and he made 4 of his 6 free throw attempts. And in this matchup, the Phoenix Suns were able to get the first win of the season. They're now 1-0 as the Dallas Mavericks started their season out 0-1, and of course 81 games left to play for all these teams. So those are the 2 mainstream games from last night. Jumping into Cleveland, the Cleveland Cavaliers hosted the Charlotte Hornets and were able to beat them 121-114 as Charlotte attempted to come back in the fourth quarter after being down by 13 to start the quarter, but of course Cleveland was able to seal them out and get their first win of the season. For the Charlotte Hornets, starting with their players off the bench, Bismack Biyombo would finish with 11 points and 4 rebounds. Their number 3 overall pick in the 2020 NBA draft, LaMelo Ball, would finish with no points, 3 assists and a couple of steals as he shot 0 for 5 from the field in 16 minutes and 0 for 3 from the three-point line. Out of the starters, their point guard, Devontae Graham, would finish with 10 points and 10 assists in 37 minutes as she shot 4 for 13 from the field, 2 for 9 from 3. Their small forward, who just got a payday, Gordon Hayward, their new small forward, Gordon Hayward, would finish with 28 points and 7 assists in 36 minutes as he shot 11 for 18 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3. And their point guard, Terry Rozier, Scary Terry, would finish with 42 points and 3 rebounds in the Charlotte Hornets season opener as he shot 5 for 23 from the field in 38 minutes. He shot 10 for 16 for 3. I imagine that's definitely a personal record. Even with this, they still weren't enough to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. For the Cavaliers off the bench, their small forward, Cedi Osman, would finish with 11 points and 4 rebounds in 18 minutes. Their center, JaVale McGee, would finish with 13 points and 7 rebounds in 19 minutes as he shot 6 for 7 from the field. Out of their starters, their rookie shooting guard, Isaac Okoro, out of Auburn, would finish with 11 points and 5 assists as he shot 4 for 5 from the field in 34 minutes. Their power forward, Larry Nance Jr., would finish with 13 points and 13 rebounds and 8 assists in 34 minutes. Their center, Andre Drummond, would finish with 14 points, 14 rebounds, and 4 assists in 27 minutes. Their point guard, Darius Garland, would finish with 22 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. And their other point guard, Colin Sexton, would finish with 27 points and 5 assists, shooting 9 for 16 from the field and 3 for 4 from 3. With this win, the Cleveland Cavaliers start their season off 1-0, and the Charlotte Hornets now start their season off 0-1 in their division. And jumping out really quickly to Indianapolis, the Indiana Pacers were able to beat the New York Knicks in their season opener, 121-107. The New York Knicks would try to get it together at the very end, but the Pacers kind of dominated from the very stretch. The Knicks got a pretty good start leading at halftime, but the Pacers were able to turn it around, especially with a big third quarter and fourth quarter performances from the team. For the New York Knicks, off the bench, their shooting guard Alec Burks would finish with 22 points and 4 rebounds in 32 minutes. Out of their starters, Julius Randle would finish with 17 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists. And their second-year shooting guard, R.J. Barrett out of Duke, would finish with 26 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists as he shot 11 for 15 from the field in 34 minutes, 3 for 3 from 3. Big performance from him, but for the Knicks, it just wasn't enough. For the Indiana Pacers off the bench, their small forward, Doug McDermott, would finish with 13 points and 12 shots off the bench. Out of their starters, Miles Turner would finish with 10 points and 8 rebounds. Their point guard, Malcolm Brogdon, would finish with 21 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists as he shot 8 for 16 from the field. Their shooting guard, Victor Oladipo, would finish with 22 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. And the leading scorer of the entire night for the Indiana Pacers was their reigning all-star, Domantas Sabonis, who would finish with 32 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists in 37 minutes. He shot 11 for 18 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and he made 8 of his 12 free throws on the night. With this win, the Indiana Pacers are now 1-0. The New York Knicks dropped down to 0-1. Going out to Orlando, the Orlando Magic hosted their in-state rival, the Miami Heat, and the reigning Eastern Conference champions. And in the season opener, the Orlando Magic were able to get the first win of the season, as they were able to come back from being down 4 at the beginning of the fourth to eventually pulling out a very big and important win to, of course, get their season started, get their confidence rolling. For the Miami Heat off the bench, their point guard, Goran Dragic, would finish with 20 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists in 26 minutes. Out of their starters, their center, Bam Adebayo, would finish with 25 points and 11 rebounds, and their small forward, Jimmy Butler, would finish with 19 points, 7 assists, 3 rebounds, and 7 steals in the opening game. He shot 7 for 15 from the field, and he went 5 for 5 from the free throw line. And for the Orlando Magic, off the bench, their shooting guard, Terrence Ross, would finish with 19 points. Out of their starters, their center, Nikola Vucevic, would finish with 15 points and 11 rebounds. Their point guard, Markelle Markelle Fultz would finish with 15 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. The former number 1 overall pick looks to try to revive his career in Orlando. Their power forward out of Arizona, Aaron Gordon, would finish with 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 steals on the night. And their leading scorer was Evan Fournier, who finished with 25 points. He finished with 4 assists and 3 steals as well, as he shot 9 for 13 from the field in 31 minutes. He shot 3 for 5 from 3, and he made 4 of his 5 free throw attempts on the night. Big win for the Orlando Magic. They are now 1-0 on the season, as the Miami Heat dropped down to 0-1. Jumping out to Chicago, the Chicago Bulls hosted the Atlanta Hawks, and the Atlanta Hawks were able to get the best of the Bulls, winning 124-104 after scoring 83 points in the first half, setting a franchise record for the Chicago Bulls in their opener. Off the bench, their small forward Otto Porter Jr. had 14 points in 23 minutes. Out of their starters, their small forward, the number 4 overall pick in the 2020 NBA draft, Patrick Williams, finished with 16 points, 4 rebounds in 33 minutes. Their forward, Lauri Markkanen, finished with 21 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists in 30 minutes. And their leading scorer was Zach LaVine, who scored 22 points in 25 minutes, shooting 9 for 19 from the field, 1 for 8 from 3, and he made all 3 of his free throw attempts. For the Atlanta Hawks, in their debut of the season off the bench, Kevin Huerter finished with 11 points in 27 minutes. Their shooting guard Bogdan Bogdanovic finished with 15 points in 25 minutes. And out of the starters, DeAndre Hunter finished with 11 points. Danilo Gallinari finished with 13 points. John Collins, their power forward, looking for a payday, finished with 14 points and 4 rebounds. Their small forward, Cam Reddish, finished with 15 points and 6 rebounds in 24 minutes. And their elite point guard, Trae Young, would finish with 37 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists in 26 minutes. He shot 10 for 12 from the field. That's the most points scored by any player with 12 field goal attempts in the shot clock era. Trae Young also shot 5 for 6 from 3, and he made 12 of his 14 free throws on the night to give the Hawks their first win of the season. Hawks are now 1-0, as the Chicago Bulls are now 0-1 to start the season. Jumping to Philadelphia, the Philadelphia 76ers took on the Washington Wizards, and in this one, the Philadelphia 76ers had a big fourth quarter where they outscored the Wizards by 16, and they were able to get the 6-point win at the very end, winning 113-107. For the Washington Wizards, off the bench, their small forward Davis Bertans finished with 14 points in 20 minutes. Out of their starters, their elite point guard Russell Westbrook finished with 21 points, 11 rebounds, and 15 assists. Of course, starting off in triple-double fashion, as he shot 9 for 22 from the field in 36 minutes. He was 0 for 2 from 3, and he made 3 of his 5 free throw attempts on the night. And then their elite shooting guard Bradley Beal would finish with 31 points, 3 assists, and 4 steals on the night, as he shot 11 for 22 in 36 minutes, shooting 3 for 8 from 3 and 6 for 7 from the free throw line. For the Philadelphia 76ers, off the bench, their shooting guard Shake Milton would finish with 19 points in 30 minutes. Out of their starters, their elite point guard Ben Simmons would finish with 16 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists in 32 minutes, shooting 7 for 12 from the field, 2 for 6 from the free throw line. Their elite center, Joel Embiid, the leading scorer for the Philadelphia 76ers, he would finish with 29 points and 14 rebounds in 35 minutes. He would shoot 10 for 17 from the field, 1 for 1 from 3, and 8 for 9 from the free throw line, as the Philadelphia 76ers picked up their first win of the season. And with this loss, the Washington Wizards are now 0-1. Jumping out to Toronto, the Toronto Raptors hosted the New Orleans Pelicans, and the Pelicans were able to get the best of the Raptors after a big third quarter from them, outscoring the Raptors by 16, and to eventually come to the Pelicans winning 113-99 at the end. For the Toronto Raptors, out of their starters, their point guard Kyle Lowry would finish with 18 points and 10 assists, as he shot 7 for 15 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3. And then their elite power forward Pascal Siakam would lead the team with 20 points, as he finished with 6 rebounds and 6 assists. He shot 8 for 17 from the field in 39 minutes, shooting 3 for 7 from 3 and 1 for 2 from the free throw line. For the New Orleans Pelicans, off the bench, their shooting guard JJ Redick would finish with 23 points and 3 rebounds, shooting 8 for 14 from the field and 6 for 11 from 3 in 29 minutes. Out of the starters, their point guard Lonzo Ball would finish with 16 points and 5 rebounds. Their point guard Eric Bledsoe would finish with 18 points and 6 rebounds. their reigning the number one overall pick from the 2019 draft, Zion Williamson, finished with 15 points and 10 rebounds and 3 assists in 30 minutes as he shot 7 for 9 from the field, 1 for 4 from the free throw line. And their leading scorer was Brandon Ingram, who finished with 24 points, 9 rebounds, and 11 assists, finishing with 3 steals. He shot 10 for 19 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and 1 for 2 from the free throw line. With this win, the New Orleans Pelicans are now 1-0 to start the season, as the Raptors start their season 0-1. Jumping out to Memphis, the Memphis Grizzlies they hosted the San Antonio Spurs, and the Spurs were able to beat the Grizzlies 131-119, following a big first half, especially a big second quarter from the Spurs, and they kind of held the Grizzlies at arm's length ever since taking the big lead in the second quarter. For the Memphis Grizzlies, out of their starters, their center, Jonas Valanciunas, have finished with 15 points and 13 rebounds in 30 minutes. Their shooting guard, Dylan Brooks, have finished with 16 points and 4 rebounds and 6 assists. And their elite point guard, reigning 2020 NBA Rookie of the Year, Ja Morant, would finish with 44 points and 9 rebounds in 35 minutes as he shot 8 for 27 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and he shot 7 for 8 from the free throw line. For the San Antonio Spurs, out of their starters, all of their starters scored at least 16 points. Starting off with their guards, Keldon Johnson would finish with 16 points and 5 rebounds and 3 assists and 3 steals as he shot 5 for 10 from the field. Lonnie Walker IV out of Miami would finish with 16 points and 6 rebounds. Their aging and future Hall of Fame power forward LaMarcus Aldridge would finish with 20 points. Their point guard DeJounte Murray would finish with 21 points on the day for the San Antonio Spurs. He would have a pretty big game, and their leading scorer was DeMar DeRozan, who finished with 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists. He shot 7 for 14 from the field and 14 for 15 from the free throw line. Big win for the San Antonio Spurs. They are now 1-0 to start their season, as the Memphis Grizzlies start out their season 0-1. Continuing on, jumping out to Minneapolis, the Minnesota Timberwolves hosted the Detroit Pistons, and were able to beat them 111-101 following a big fourth quarter where they were down 5 at the beginning, but they were able to pull out the 10-point win to get their season started. For the Detroit Pistons, off the bench, their point guard and former MVP Derrick Rose have finished with 15 points and 6 assists in 27 minutes, shooting 7 for 13 from the field. Their small forward, Josh Jackson, would finish with 19 points and 6 rebounds as he shot 8 for 14 from the field. And then out of their starters, the starter with the most points was Blake Griffin, who finished with 15 points and 7 rebounds as he shot 6 for 13 from the field. Big team performance from the Detroit Pistons, but they just simply weren't able to bring it all together at the end. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, off the bench, they're the number 1 overall pick from the 2020 NBA draft. Anthony Edwards would finish with 15 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists in 25 minutes as he shot 5 for 12 from the field, 1 for 5 from the three-point line, and 4 for 4 from the free throw line. Their shooting guard, D'Angelo Russell, would finish with 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists as he shot 7 for 16 from the field in 33 minutes. And out of their starters, their elite center, Karl Anthony Towns, would finish with 22 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 assists, shooting 6 for 10 from the field in 30 minutes, shooting 2 for 4 from the three-point line and making all 8 of his free throw attempts. And their leading scorer was Malik Beasley, who had 23 points and 4 rebounds in 27 minutes, shooting 10 for 18 from the field and 3 for 9 from 3. With this win, the Minnesota Timberwolves are now 1-0, and the Detroit Pistons now drop to 0-1. I'm continuing on with yet another game from the night. Jumping this time out to Denver. The Denver Nuggets hosted the Sacramento Kings, and the Sacramento Kings were able to win against the Denver Nuggets in overtime, as Buddy Hield's last-second tip-in would give the Sacramento Kings the 124-122 win over the Denver Nuggets. I thought it that, along with the Jason Tatum step-back jumper against Giannis Antetokounmpo, I think those are the 2 biggest plays of the night. But, of course, looking into how the Denver Nuggets performed in this outing, off the bench, their shooting guard, Will Barton, finished with 16 points and 4 assists. Out of their starters, their power forward, Paul Millsap, finished with 16 points and 7 rebounds. Their power forward, Michael Porter Jr. would finish with 24 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks, as he shot 9 for 15 from the field in 30 minutes, 3 for 7 from 3. And their elite center, Nikola Jokic, would finish with 29 points, 15 13 rebounds and 14 assists in 42 minutes, as he shot 11 for 18 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and he shot 6 for 9 from the free throw line. And looking at how the Sacramento Kings performed, their leading scorer off the bench was Corey Joseph, who finished with 15 points and 4 assists, shooting 6 for 10 from the field in 29 minutes. Out of their starters, their point guard De'Aaron Fox would finish with 21 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists. Buddy Hield, their shooting guard, would finish with 22 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists as he got the game-winning shot for Sacramento to give them their first win. And then their small forward Harrison Barnes would finish with 21 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists. And with this win, the Sacramento Kings are now 1-0 to start their season, as the Denver Nuggets drop down to 0-1 to start theirs. Looking out to Portland for the final game of the night, because, of course, like I said, the Thunder-Rockets game was postponed. The Utah Jazz were able to beat the Portland Trailblazers 120-110 to get their first win, and they were able to get a very big jump on Portland early, as Portland kind of really came out in garbage time, but it was a very big win for the Utah Jazz to make their statement on the league. For the Portland Trailblazers, for their debut of the season, their leading scorer off their bench was future Hall of Fame power forward Carmelo Anthony, who finished with 15 points and 4 rebounds in 24 minutes, shooting 5 for 12 from the field, 5 for 6 from the free throw line. And out of these starters, their leading scorer was CJ McCollum, who finished with 23 points and 4 rebounds on the day in 34 minutes. Their elite point guard, Damian Lillard, would finish with 9 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists in 34 minutes as he shot 4 for 12 from the field, 1 for 7 from 3, and he missed his only free throw attempt of the night. And for the Utah Jazz, off the bench, their leading scorer was Jordan Clarkson, who had 15 points and 7 rebounds in 22 minutes. Out of their starters, their small forward Bojan Bogdanovic would finish with 15 points and 6 rebounds on the day. Their point guard Mike Conley would finish with 18 points. Their elite center Rudy Gobert would finish with 20 points and 17 rebounds on the day, shooting 8 for 10 in 28 minutes. And their elite shooting guard Donovan Mitchell would finish with 20 points, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists, including a steal, as he shot 6 for 16 from the field in 31 minutes, 4 for 10 from 3, and he made all 4 of his free throws on the night. And with this win, the Utah Jazz are now 1-0, as the Portland Trailblazers now drop down to 0-1. These are all the games that have been played yesterday, and considering there are no games today, and NBA basketball picks up with Christmas basketball on Friday, which of course is tomorrow. And in this game, you'll see at 12 o'clock, the New Orleans Pelicans, led by Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram, will go and face off against the Miami Heat, led by Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler, on ESPN. At 2:30 on ABC, the Milwaukee Bucks, featuring the 2020 NBA MVP, back-to-back MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo, will host the Golden State Warriors, led by 3-time champion Steph Curry. Three-time champion Steph Curry. At 5 o'clock, the Boston Celtics will host the Brooklyn Nets on ABC, as Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum look to take on Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant in quite possibly an Eastern Conference Finals matchup between the two. At 8 o'clock on ABC and ESPN, the Los Angeles Lakers will host the Dallas Mavericks, the reigning NBA champs, LeBron James, the current king, looking to face off against one of the challengers to his throne, Luka Doncic. And then at 10:30 on ESPN, the Denver Nuggets at 0-1 are going to face off against the 1-0 Los Angeles Clippers on ESPN. Nikola Jokic, one of the best centers in the game, going to face off against Kawhi Leonard and Paul George in a Western Conference semifinals matchup, where the Nuggets ended up beating the Clippers after coming from back down. So that's going to be a very interesting grudge match in the NBA. So that's everything that's going on in the NBA. Really quickly jumping out to college basketball, just to show you what's going on with that world right now. 5th-ranked Villanova was able to beat unranked Marquette 85-68, as Colin Gillespie led the way for Villanova with his 22 points. With this win, Villanova is now 8-1. They are 3-0 in the Big East. With this loss, Marquette is 5-5, and they are 1-3 in the Big East. 8th-ranked Tennessee was able to get a win against South Carolina Upstate behind Victor Bailey's 18 points. With this win, Tennessee is now 6-0 on the season, as South Carolina Upstate drops to 0-8 on the season. 23rd-ranked Ohio State hosted 11th-ranked Rutgers and were able to win 80-68 by 12 after a very big second-half outing from them, after trailing in the first half by 10 points. E.J. Liddell led the way with 22 points, as Ron Harper Jr. scored 20 points for Rutgers. With this win, Ohio State is 7-1. They are 1-1 in the Big Ten. With this loss, Rutgers, 11th ranked Rutgers is now 6-1, picking up their first loss of the season, and they are 2-1 in the Big Ten. Also, 13th ranked Creighton was able to beat 22nd ranked Xavier 66-61 behind Denzel Mahoney's 13 points. With this win, Creighton is now 7-2. They are 3-1 in the Big East, as Xavier is now 8-1. They are 1-1 in the Big East currently. Unranked Penn State was hosting 18th ranked Illinois, and Illinois was able to beat Penn State 98-81 behind Ayo Dosunmu's 30 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. With this win, Illinois is now 6-3. They are 2-1 in the Big Ten, and with this loss, Penn State is 3-3. They are 0-2 in the Big Ten. And the Oregon UCLA game got postponed. But considering there's no college basketball to be played today, but it will pick up tomorrow at 12:30. 12th ranked Michigan State at 6-1. They're going to host the 9th ranked Wisconsin Badgers, who are currently 7-1. That game is going to be on Fox at 6:00. Unranked Nebraska is going to host 19th ranked Michigan on Big Ten Network, and at 8:00, unranked Minnesota is going to host 4th ranked Iowa. As both teams are 7-1, so that's going to be a very interesting matchup between the two teams. That's what's going on with college basketball. Looking out to what's going on with the NFL in terms of tomorrow's matchups as well. The only matchup is going to be between the New Orleans Saints and the Minnesota Vikings, as the Saints are 10-4, looking to gain leverage. They're looking to gain traction, looking to gain position in the NFC playoff race, and the Vikings are still fighting for a playoff spot, and the Saints could eliminate them literally tomorrow. So that's going to be interesting as well. We're going to see how that, of course, develops. And jumping out to soccer, because of course there were some soccer games that were played yesterday. Starting off with the earlier ones in the Premier League, or in England, Tottenham Hotspur was able to beat Stoke City 3-1 in the Carabao Cup. Harry Kane's 81st minute would be the one that sealed him away with 3 goals. They were able to move on. And Manchester United was able to beat Everton 2-0 behind Edison Cavani's and Anthony Martial's late goals to help put Manchester United through to the next round. In Serie A, Inter Milan was able to beat Hellas Verona 2-1 behind Lautaro Martinez and Skriniar's second half goals to help give them the 3 points in the table. And also, AC Milan was able to pick up a 3-2 win over Lazio with 2 goals in the first half, but then a 92nd minute goal would be the one that put him over, and Ciro Immobile would score yet another goal for Lazio, but it wouldn't be enough. Looking at the Serie A table, AC Milan is still sitting at the top with 34 points. Inter Milan is 1 point behind them so far in the table. They are, as of right now, AC Milan is 10 points ahead of Juventus with only 1 more game played. And then looking out to the rest of the games, those are the only 2 big games in terms of what goes on in the Serie A. Looking out into La Liga, Real Madrid was able to beat Granada 2-0 behind Casemiro and Karim Benzema's 2 second-half goals. Looking out in La Liga right now, Real Madrid they have the same amount of points as Atletico Madrid, but they still play 2 more games, which gives Atletico a bit of an advantage in that sense. In Ligue 1, in France, PSG was able to beat Strasbourg 4-0. Kylian Mbappe, their elite forward, was able to score in the 79th minute. He scored the second goal of the game, but it was just a part of a 4-goal barrage to help PSG get another win and see if they could gain a little bit of traction in Ligue 1. Right now, they're sitting 3rd in the table, still 1 point behind Lyon and Lille in the table. Speaking of Lyon and Lille, Lyon was able to beat Nantes 3-0. And Lille was able to beat Montpellier 3-2, as both teams were able to get 3 points in the table, and they were still able to hold that 1 point lead over Kylian Mbappe, Neymar, and PSG. And there aren't really any crazy big games today from any of the top leagues, but that's kind of what's going on. As much of soccer has come to a halt for a couple of days. But that's what's going on right now. Once again, it is Thursday, December 24th. It is Christmas Eve around the world for people that celebrate Christmas, of course. And, of course, it's still the holiday season. I hope all is well. Once again, I want to thank you for listening to all 28 and a half minutes of my piece. And I'll get back to you on Saturday following the developments from Friday. With that said, I hope all is well, and peace out. Have a great day, and I'll catch you on Saturday.